Hidden Inventory, otherwise known as the flashback arc of Jujutsu Kaisen, gave us so much information that we didn't know we wanted. Everything from Gojo's awakening, to Geto going rogue, to the introduction of arguably the coldest character, Toji Zenin. And about a month ago I uploaded an hour-long video detailing the full story of Satoru Gojo. I was advised to cut the video into a couple parts, and the one in this video will be the Hidden Inventory section. So if you want to see the full video, I will have it linked in the description. Also, I want to apologize for the mic quality sounding a bit different here. This was recorded before I upgraded to the mic I use today. So with that being said, let's get into the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Now I'll get into the event that shaped Gojo's entire life, something that changed Gojo forever, and that is the Hidden Inventory incident, back when he was just a student at the Jujutsu High School. While he and Geto are in class, the principal comes in and says, "This mission I'm going to have you two go together." The principal says there are two objectives for this mission. Master Tengen has found the perfect star plasma vessel. Escort this girl and erase her. Gojo says, "Escort the girl and erase her?" Correct. Gojo and Geto look at each other and say the principal is finally lost his mind. The principal basically explains to Gojo and Geto that Tengen has this timer on him, so where he needs a new vessel every 500 years. And that is why they need to go capture and retrieve this new star plasma vessel. While Gojo and Geto are walking down the street and they're talking about the risk of taking this mission, Gojo says, "Anyway, it should be okay, we're the strongest. That's why Master Tengen asked for us." They see a fire up on a building and they see a girl falling out from the building. Geto goes up on a curse and catches her out of the sky. This girl is the star plasma vessel. Geto then begins to get into a fight with the person on the rooftop. And then we cut down to see Gojo is actually fighting somebody on the ground as well. They're trying to throw knives at him, but of course they don't hit Gojo. And the Q soldier says, "Amazing, so you're the famous Satoru Gojo. I've heard that you're strong. Show me if the rumors are true." Gojo says, "Sure, but let's make a rule. I don't want to go all out and get in trouble. At any point should you cry and apologize and I won't kill you." The Q soldier calls him a brat. Then we get this cutscene of Toji where he's talking to this businessman. The businessman says the Star Religious group doesn't have the power to fight, but they have plenty of money, I assure you of that. How about it, Zenin? How's a little star plasma vessel assassination sound to you? Toji says, "I don't go by Zenin anymore. I got married and took my wife's name. I go by Fushiguro now." Sounds good, I accept your offer. While Gojo and Geto captured the girl and they're chilling with her, these two people pull up and try to start a fight with the both of them. One of these guys has a bag on his head and the other is a old man. The old man squares up with Geto and says, well, that uniform." He begins to break down Geto's curse technique and says curse manipulation. Geto says, "Correct, you're as wise as your age suggests." In short, this old man basically tries to attack Geto. He thinks that he's outsmarted him by breaking in behind him, but Geto just sort of anticipated that this would happen and punches the heck out of the old man, winning the fight very quickly. The guy with the paper bag has a clone technique and there's basically multiple of his bodies up on this rooftop, and he begins to try to fight Gojo. They go to punch him, but again, of course, the punches don't hit. The guy says, "What is this?" Gojo says, "The infinity. You know from the Achilles and the tortoise. Didn't you learn that studying is important?" He then punches them both. Gojo says, "You've got quite the technique, then why are you so weak?" The guy in the bag says, "How do you know my technique?" Gojo says, "Sorry about that, I've got good eyes. My technique involves the convergence of an infinite series. Things that approach me slow down and never reach the target. By amplifying this, the limitless, things such as natural negative numbers and impossible situations like -1 apples manifest. In doing that, I can create a magnetic effect like the one before, but to tell you the truth is quite difficult to use. I can't create a huge field of attraction close to myself. Manipulating the curse energy is accurate and is really a pain. In other words, I get really tired, but this is all standard for my technique. This is the divergence of the infinity, curse technique reversal, red." He tries to use red here, but it doesn't work, so then he just settles with punching the guy in the face. Gojo says, I thought it was gonna work this time, to which the star plasma vessel says, what is wrong with this guy? Now Gojo and Geto basically take the star plasma vessel and the other girl to a trip on the beach, and they basically just enjoy themselves for a day until they have to come back to the Jujutsu Technical College. And when they do, they have the most horrible thing waiting for them. Once they get back into the barrier, Gojo turns off his infinity. He says finally no more babysitting. And then he gets a stab through the back. Everybody says impossible. This is inside of Jujutsu High's barrier, to which Gojo turns around and says, do I know you from somewhere? Toji says, don't sweat it, I'm not one to remember some dude's name either. We are now about to get into one of the most important, probably the most important fight in the series. We get a flashback to where Toji says, I once went to see that Gojo kid with the 6 eyes to see what the fuss was all about. It was the first and last time anyone was aware of my presence when I was standing behind them. That is why I waited until you were worn down. Geto tries to release a curse at Toji and it says Satoru, but Gojo says it's fine. I didn't cast my curse technique in time, but he didn't hit any vital organs. And I reinforced my curse energy to make sure the sword didn't do any further damage. Kinda like a safety pin going through a knitted sweater. Really, I'm good. The star plasma vessel is the priority, I'll take care of this. Get to Master Tengen's place quickly. Geto then tells him, don't let your guard down, to which Gojo says, who do you think you're talking to? We see Toji break out of the curse and Gojo says, it's a different sword than before. And where'd that cursed spirit wrapped around his body come from? Toji says, what's going on? Where'd the star plasma vessel go? I was hoping to finish you off with that strike. I must be getting rusty. Gojo says that her bounty has been lifted already, you idiot. Which Toji says, yeah, because I took it down, Mr. Hotshot. To gain an advantage over guys as tightly guarded as you, I created the illusion of achieving your goals. It's regrettable that none of these sorcerers with you died, but if there wasn't any time limit on the bounty, you probably wouldn't have stopped your technique until the end. Gojo says, is that right? And then tries to use blue to suck in Toji. Toji dashes out of the way and Gojo says he's not just fast. I knew there was something weird about this guy. He has 0 cursed energy. It is all innate physical prowess. I can't read his moves. We see Toji begin to bounce off the walls, and then he just keeps moving everywhere very quickly. Gojo says he knows about my curse technique. That is why he lays low. He has a plan. It must involve that curse tool he just took out. Gojo says aloud, is that your secret weapon? Too bad you can't get close enough to use it. Where is he? I can't sense him without curse energy. Should I rely on instinct? No, I'll try to sense the energy of that cursed spirit wrapped around him. We then see this panel of a bunch of movements very fast. And Gojo says, how is he so fast? I've got no choice. And then Gojo uses blue to basically clear out a large area around him to where he can get a better view. And Gojo says, now there's nothing in the way to block my view. No more surprise attacks. Are you hiding in the forest? We see a bunch of fly heads come out of the forest, to which Gojo says that they were stored inside of the cursed spirit that was wrapped around Toji. Gojo says, I see, using them like a chaff grenade. I can't locate him and my view is blocked again. I'll use blue, but no, his target is a Monai. And then we see Toji just quickly get up behind Gojo before Gojo could ever even notice. Toji says, the sharp instinct that can detect me even when unarmed. With your 6 eyes, you can see the foreign curse energy that flows out of this curse tool. You don't want to let it get close, so you're now on the defensive. And we see Toji stab Gojo through the neck. And this is where we learn what he stabbed Gojo with. Special grade curse tool, inverted spear of heaven. Its effect, forced stoppage of a curse technique. Toji begins to stab Gojo a bunch of more times as he's going down his body. And then we see as Gojo falls to the ground, he stabs him one more time in the head. Toji says, I'm starting to remember how to do this. We get this cut back to where Geto is still escorting the star plasma vessel. He leads her into the main hall tombs of the star corridor, the underground passage basically. Geto says go down the stairs and past the gate, then head toward the base of that huge tree. He basically says that she can go become the plasma vessel for Tengen, or she can turn back and return home. She says what? Geto says when me and Gojo were assigned this mission by our teacher, he referred to the merger as an erasure. It's as if he looked at it as something wrong. For a muscle brain guy like him, he likes to beat around the bush. Satoru and I came up with the decision before we met you. If the kid who was the star plasma vessel should refuse the merger, then we call it off. Basically, Gojo and Geto went around their teacher who gave them the mission. They basically were looking out for the girl rather than the mission. If she didn't want to become the merger for Tengen, then they were going to call it off and basically protect the girl. And just to assure Amanai of her safety, Gojo says, "We are the strongest. No matter what you choose, we promise to protect your future." Amanai says, "Ever since I was born, I've been told that I'm special and different. Being special was normal for me. I've survived till now by staying away from danger. My parents died in a car crash. I don't remember it. I'm not sad or lonely anymore. That is why with the merger, I thought I'd be okay leaving everyone. No matter how painful it became, I believe that someday the sadness and loneliness would disappear. But now I want to stay with everyone a bit longer. I want to go more places and see more things with everyone." Then Gojo holds out his hand and says, "Rico, let's go home." He has now taken back the decision to make her become the merger. He will now basically protect her life. And as soon as he does this, she gets shot in the head. And then we see who she got shot by. Looking over to his left, Gojo sees standing there Toji Fushiguro. He says, "Alright, good show. Time to wrap things up now." Geto's eyes are sort of wide and he says, "How did you get here?" Toji says, "How? I got you. I killed Satoru Gojo." Gojo says, "I see, then die." He summons a bunch of his cursed spirits and we see him begin to get ready to fight. Toji says, "The tombs of the star and the cursed warehouse are barriers for hiding. You can't leave guards at the entrance. So as long as you know where the entrance is located, there should be no problems finding it. Jujutsu sorcerers are busy around this time of the year. Plus, flyheads have infested the school and things are hectic outside. As someone who possesses no cursed energy, I am the invisible man. But there is one problem. As soon as I hold a cursed tool, the energy from it means I am no longer invisible." And Toji begins to shoot the cursed spirit. He then says, "Let me continue. You see, I've got this cursed spirit that can store objects. I use it to carry my cursed tools. Now I know what you're thinking. Shouldn't the cursed energy from the spirit make him invisible? The spirit shrink by storing itself within its own body. Then I ingest it and keep it in my stomach." He basically goes on to tell Gojo a bunch of things about himself, like his heavenly restriction, but Gojo basically doesn't want to hear it, so he lets off another cursed spirit at Toji, to which Toji just cuts it up instantly. We then see this sort of shikigami come across where this lady says to Toji, "Hey, am I pretty?" To which Toji says, "An imaginary vengeful spirit, and in a domain with a pact that cannot be broken until the question is answered." Toji says, "Well, you look interesting, but you're not my type." To which she basically cuts Toji's ear, but he just moves everything out of the way. Gojo comes up behind Toji and Toji thinks to himself, "Idiot, coming in close against me, you've got no chance." Gojo says, "This is the end for you." And then he tries to absorb the cursed spirit on Toji's back. Of course, it fails. And then Toji just turns around and cuts up Gojo in a bunch of different places. Gojo falls to the ground and he says to him, "You're a sorcerer, you'll be fine. I would have killed you if you were a Shikigami user, but since you're a curse manipulator, I don't know what will happen with the curses you've taken in if you die. I'd rather avoid the trouble for now. Be sure to thank your parents. But you guys, with all of your blessed talents, lost to a monkey like me who can't even use Jujutsu. Don't you dare forget that if you want to live a long life." And then we see Toji get this sort of face. And he says, "I remember now. Megami, the name means blessings, and I'm the one who gave him that name." Now this chapter ends off and we see that Gojo's hand actually twitches as he's lying on the ground. We had just seen by this point that Toji was able to take out two of the strongest Jujutsu sorcerers during the time. This duo, Gojo and Gojo, who were meant to protect the Star Plasma vessel, both failed. They both lost to Toji Fushiguro. Toji picks up the corpse of the Star Plasma vessel and delivers it back to the organization. They say to Toji, "You'll receive your money through means we previously discussed. We'll add a little on extra for your troubles." And then Toji says, "How kind of you, Mr. Founding Father." We see Toji walk off with the guy who basically proposed him this deal. And Toji basically says to the guy, "Let's grab some food with that money. Show me a restaurant you use for buttering up your clients." The guy says to Toji, "Forget it, you don't plan on paying anyway. I promised myself that I'd only associate with you in business or in hell." And as Toji is walking away, here we go. We see Gojo standing up in front of him. Gojo says, "Yo, long time no see." Toji says, for real, I feel like new." Toji says, "Reverse reverse curse technique, to which Gojo says correct. When you so kindly stabbed me through the throat, I gave up on fighting back. Instead, I focused everything I had into reverse curse technique. Curse energy is born from negativity. Even if you can reinforce your body, reconstructing body parts is impossible. That's why you multiply the negative energy together to make positive energy. That's reverse curse technique, but it's easier said than done. And you know what else? I've never been able to do it before. Toji looks at him and sort of says, he's rambling, is he delirious? And Gojo says, the one person I know who can do it just talks a bunch of gibberish too. But right on the verge of death, I understood the core of cursed energy. You lost. You should have cut my head off. And you didn't use that cursed tool when you stabbed me in the head. Toji says, lost? The battle's just beginning. Gojo says, what? Is that right? Maybe you're right. You're so right. And Toji then dashes towards Gojo. And he tries to swing and hit him again, but Gojo just flies backwards in the sky. Here Gojo says, the positive energy born from reverse curse technique flows into the limitless curse technique carved into me. Curse technique reversal, red. And he hits Toji with this, and Toji gets sent flying. We see Toji bleeding, and he says, you're a monster, while looking directly at Gojo. Toji sort of recovers himself and says, my bones aren't broken, so that energy wave just now was red, the curse technique reversal of the limitless. The power to stop motion, the neutral limitless, the power to attract, the strengthened limitless blue, and the power to repel, the curse technique reversal red. Toji says none of them are a problem. His stopping technique hasn't been an issue from the start. I can nullify the attraction technique with my extended reach inverted spear, and even my speed is effective. As long as I don't mess up the timing, I can use the inverted spear as a shield against his repelling power. Then he says, I feel this uneasiness, as Gojo begins to float into the sky. After looking at Gojo again, he says once again this uneasiness. No, everything's okay. Die. And we see him swing around this chain with the spear on the end. Gojo then says, sorry Amanai, right now I'm not angry for you, nor do I feel vengeful towards anyone. Right now it's just that everything feels right. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one. And we see Toji begin to try to swing his spear at him again, to which Gojo says, innate techniques that have been passed down through generations have the advantage of how-to manuals. The disadvantage is that word gets out about the techniques. You must be from one of the big three sorcerer families, most likely Zenin. No wonder you knew about blue, red, and the limitless. But this, even within the Gojo family, is known only to a few. Motion and reversal. It is born by colliding both infinites. An imaginary mass rushes forth. Hollow technique, purple. And we see this attack hit Toji directly to the side. Toji gets this feeling. He says this uneasiness. I don't work for free. That's what I would always say before making a run for it. But now the awakened power of the limitless stands before me. He's probably the greatest sorcerer alive. I wanted to discredit it, to crush it, the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world and the Zenin family. I wanted this for self-affirmation, and I deviated from my true self. At that point, I had already lost. To be proud neither of myself nor others, I chose that path, didn't I? To which Gojo comes down from the sky and says, do you have any last words? Toji at first says no. But then after getting a flashback of Megami, he says, in 2 or 3 years, my kid will be sold off to the Zenin family. Do as you please. And then Toji dies. This fight has become known as the most important fight within Jujutsu Kaisen, because this fight spiraled everything. This was the fight that we saw Gojo nearly die, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer, the person who we thought was untouchable. But it was also because of this fight that Gojo leveled up. So in a sense, this fight was also horrible for him, but also needed. We see Gojo look beat up and he says, you're late, Geto. No, I guess you're early. Geto doesn't even recognize him. He says, is that you, Satoru? What happened to you? Looks like you saw Shoko. Yeah, she fixed me up. I'm fine. Then Geto says, it doesn't matter if I'm fine. Gojo says, I'm the one who's messed up. Don't worry about it, let's get out of here. Gojo then looks at Geto and says, Suguru, do you want to kill them all? Right now, I probably wouldn't even feel anything. To which Geto says, forget it, it's pointless. From the looks of it, there are only followers of the faith here. The ones in charge and involved with the Jujutsu world are probably long gone. Unlike what happened with the reward money, they can't talk their way out of the situation anymore. It was a group full of problems to begin with, they'll disband in due time. Gojo basically was about to kill every innocent person who was happy that he completed his mission. Gojo says, "Pointless, huh? Does there need to be a reason?" To which Geto says, "Of course, it's important, especially as Jujutsu sorcerers." We have never seen Gojo like this. Gojo was about to kill a bunch of innocent people. It's like this fight with Toji changed him mentally. His moral code was about to be based off of whatever Geto told him during that time, and that is why he decides to not kill a bunch of innocent people. We get a flash forward to 1 year later where Geto is helping Gojo understand the new capabilities of his curse technique. Gojo basically says, "I have an automatic targeting option for Jujutsu techniques. What I've been doing manually, I can do now automatically. And it's not just the intensity of curse energy, but its mass, speed, shape. I can use them all to distinguish the danger of the object. It would be nice to eventually distinguish poisonous objects as well, but that would take time. Right now, I can almost always keep the Limitless activated at all times while using minimum resources. They say always you're going to fry your brain." And then Gojo says, "I'll also have reverse curse technique running around the clock to preserve myself. A fresh brain at all times. I finally perfected the minimizing the necessary hand size. Simultaneously activating multiple reds and blues respectively is coming along as well. Other than that, I have to work on my domain and long distance teleportation techniques. If a course to the school without obstacles is secured in advance, I think it might be possible. Shoko, let me borrow one of your lab rats." To which Shoko says, "For real." And then Geto thinks within himself, Satoru became the strongest. Gojo sees Geto and says, "Suguru, have you lost some weight? Are you okay?" Geto has this inner monologue where he says, "Gojo can handle missions on his own now. Shoko never went on dangerous missions to begin with, so by default I've been going on more missions alone as well." Geto says, "Just a little tired from the summer heat. It's not a problem." Gojo says, "Maybe you had too much salmon noodles." We then get this scene where Geto was said to have gone to kill a bunch of innocent people. And upon being informed about this, Gojo says, "What?" To which the principal says, "Don't make me say it again. Suguru fled after killing everyone in the village." Gojo cannot believe what he is hearing. He can't believe that his good friend that he has known went and killed a bunch of innocent people. Geto basically goes to talk to Shoko. And after Shoko calls Gojo, Gojo pulls up to confront Geto. Gojo says, "Explain yourself, Suguru." Geto says to him, "You already heard from Shoko, didn't you? That's all there is to it." Gojo says, "That's reason enough for you to kill all non-sorcerers, even your parents?" Geto says, "It wouldn't be fair if I made an exception for my parents, would it? Besides, my family now consists of more than just them." Gojo says, "That's not what I'm talking about. You were the one who said killing non-sorcerers is pointless," which Geto says there is a point and a meaning to it. It is also justice. Gojo says, "No way. Killing all non-sorcerers to make a world of only sorcerers, that's impossible." And Geto says, "And there's no point in attempting the impossible? How arrogant." Gojo says, "What? You could do it, Satoru. You're trying to convince me that it's impossible when you yourself could do it. Are you the strongest because you're Satoru Gojo? Or are you Satoru Gojo because you're the strongest?" Gojo says, "What are you getting at?" Geto says, "If I could be you, wouldn't my impossible ideal become possible? This is the life I've chosen. All I can do now is give it all I've got." Gojo is about to release a technique at Geto, and Geto says, "If you want to kill me, kill me. There's meaning in that too." Gojo then puts his hand down and does not kill Geto. Gojo goes to talk to the principal and says, "Sensei, I'm strong, right? Yeah, in the impudence department too. But it looks like just being strong isn't enough. I can only save those who are prepared to be saved." Geto decides to go on stage and basically tell everybody that a new age is coming, where everybody will be forced to obey him. And then he kills somebody on stage and says, "Obey me, you monkeys. I don't like monkeys, that's the truth I chose." Then we get this cut back to a baby Megami. Gojo says, "Megami Fushiguro, right?" Megami looks up at Gojo and says, "Who are you and why are you looking at me like that?" And Gojo says, "Well, it's just that you look exactly like him." This is the end of the Hidden Inventory arc, and we learned so much about Gojo in this arc. This was the change for Gojo. Gojo had thought that he was content. Gojo thought that he was the strongest before, as if he was the strongest person in being around. but he was humbled by Toji. Toji came along and changed everything. Toji not only showed that somebody without curse energy could be this strong, but he also showed that Gojo was not the strongest person around. It took this defeat, it took Gojo almost being dead, facing death, for him to have this awakening within himself, to where he could now unlock red and the purple. And then only a year after that incident, he was able to have infinity up all of the time. This arc was the most important thing that had ever happened to Satoru Gojo. Thank you for making it to the end of the video, and if you enjoyed, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I do post every other day on different topics you guys give me, and a few I come up with on my own. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.